For the third day of our Intro to Proofs chapter, we're going to talk about parallel lines. And again today, just like when we did the angle video, we're going to start with just basic stuff that you've probably seen somewhere before, but really we're just going to refresh your memory. So, first thing that we're going to take a look at are actually parallel lines cut by a transversal. And what we're going to do is actually go through and measure all 8 angles. So, if we turn the page, what you have on the third page of your document are 2 parallel lines cut by a transversal. And what I've done is gone through and put some points on there so that we can actually talk about the angles. Now, what you should notice is that there are 8 angles formed when you have parallel lines and a transversal. So there's one up here, the angle that goes from E to A to D. There's an angle next to it, DAF, and then 6 others down below. So what we're going to do is just use our tools to go in and measure those angles. So at this point, what you probably want to do is hit pause, go through, measure the angles, and then I will show you what I ended up with. So to measure, again, go to your menu, hit measurement, go to angle, and then click on the 3 points that outline the angle. So if I want to measure angle EAD, I click on E, then click on A, and then click on D. And notice that there's a measurement that pops up. What I'm going to do right away is move that 55 over where it belongs and then go through and measure the others. So again, I'm not going to show you measuring every single angle. What you should probably do is hit pause, measure yours, and then take a look and see what we end up with together. Alright, so what you should end up with is something that looks very similar to my screen. Again, it took a little bit of time because when you measure, you have to then take the measurement and actually bring it into the correct angle, so that takes a little bit of time. But what you should notice is that there's really only 2 numbers on the screen. There's a 55-degree angle and a 125-degree angle. Now, what I want to take a look at is where angles are the same. So, if we start up top, looking at the 55-degree angle, the angle across from that is 55 degrees. Those are vertical angles like we talked about in day 2. Down below, I have a 55-degree angle, and again the angle across from that is 55. So those are also vertical angles. Now, if you take a look at the picture and pretend that you have 2 separate sets of 4 angles, so you have the 4 on the top and the 4 on the bottom, this 55 degrees is in the exact same spot as that 55 degrees. So those are angles that are in the same spot, those have the same measure. Those are called corresponding angles. So, again, we have basically 4 angles that are 55 degrees. To find them, they're either vertical or corresponding. And then same thing with the 125s. The 125s are across from each other on the top and the bottom, and they're also in the exact same place when you look from the top 4 to the bottom 4 angles. Okay, on the next page, what we want to do is talk about specific names for special pairs of angles. When we start to do proofs, we'll talk about things like alternate interior, alternate exterior angles, and if you don't know what those are, then the parallel line proofs that we're going to do are going to be pretty difficult. So, alternate interior angles. Well, alternate means different sides of this transversal. Interior means that they have to be inside the parallel lines. So if you take a look at the parallel lines, we have 4 angles that are inside, and we have to pick 2 that are on different sides of the transversal. So it says put an X on one pair of alternate interior angles. So I'm going to go to menu and click on the box down below with the parallel lines, then go to menu and go to actions and choose text. Alright, so I'm going to start with this angle inside, put an X in there, and then the other angle on the other side of the transversal, and it has to be, if one's on the top, one has to be on the bottom. So the other one would be down here. Alright, so we have one pair of alternate interior angles. The other angles that are inside that I didn't mark are a second pair. So this little one over here where the cursor is, and this little one down here, whoops, where the cursor is now, that would be a second pair of alternate interior angles. Alright, next one, alternate exterior. Same exact thing, except this time they're on opposite sides of the transversal, one on the top, one on the bottom, and they have to be outside of the parallel lines. So again, I'm going to put an X in one pair. Okay, so I have one pair of alternate exterior angles marked. Okay, next one, co-interior. Well, co means same side. So co-interior means that they're on the same side of the transversal inside the parallel lines. So again, we'll mark one pair with an X. So same side of the transversal, and they have to be inside the parallel lines. So that would be one pair of co-interior angles. And the last one, corresponding angles. These are angles that are in the same place. So with this one, if you think about having two sets of angles for two sets of four angles, we have the four angles on the top right here, and we have the four angles down on the bottom right there. Corresponding angles are angles that are in the same place on the top and on the bottom. So if I go to Menu, get my text tool, if I start up here with this angle on the top left, and I put an X in that box. Down here on the bottom four angles, if I find the angle that's on the top left, that is the one that corresponds to the one on the top. They're in the same place. Okay, last thing I want to do is make sure that you understand which of these special pairs of angles are equal and which ones are not. So if we go back to the picture where we have angles measured, if we take a look at alternate interior angles, that would be like this angle here, the 125, and this one here. Those are the same measure, so those are equal. Alternate exterior angles, like the 55 and the 55, those are equal. Co-interior, angles that are on the same side, that are inside the parallel lines, those are not equal. But they're not just randomly unequal, they actually will always add up to 180 degrees. So co-interior angles are supplementary. Supplementary means that they add to 180. And then corresponding angles, angles that are in the same place, those are also equal. So last thing I want to do here, for alternate interior angles, let's just give ourselves a little note that those are always going to be equal. Alternate exterior angles are always going to be equal. Co-interior angles are supplementary. And corresponding angles are always going to be equal. Alright, so at this point you can hit Control S if you're working on your calculator. That's pretty much all that we need to talk about for today.